Hey, everybody. Yes, Wednesday. It is Geico Camel Day. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully, you're all good. I see Zora out there. Zora, no love for me. You only show up when Howard is here. That's all right. I know you guys are like this. That's okay. Welcome, everybody, to our Wednesday edition today. We've got Howard back. Howard was on last week talking about crypto, Bitcoin all-time highs, the market. Maybe there was a little FOMO involved here, but boy, what a change just a couple days can make, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Yes, please smash away, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, please. Always helps us out as always. So today, guys, market is off its lows of the day. I saw S&P's down about 50 points or so. It's really the NASDAQ that continues to get hit. NASDAQ was down about 300 points earlier. It's down 230 right now. And I think the fear for the NASDAQ and why we're seeing this sector rotation kind of is really because, rates. Okay, so last week, CME FedWatch tool was pricing in nearly 100% probability of a 25 basis point cut in September. That's now down to about 82 or 83%, still a very big likelihood. But you know what? Nobody really knows. And we'll see, obviously, all eyes will be watching on what Powell has to say on Friday, which not only affects the equity markets, the bond markets, but certainly affects crypto as well, guys. So absolutely happy to have Howard rejoining us today. And do you guys remember this? This was a slide we used last week, right, Howard?
Yeah.
Guys, blah, 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 blah. And remember
Seems
this?
like a year ago, doesn't it?
I mean, that, with 24/7 trading, every day is like a year in crypto, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Howard is here to discuss this. Is the crypto bull market over, or are pullbacks just part of the process, just like in other asset classes? Sometimes we see it more violently in the crypto space. In fact, we saw Bitcoin trading 125. Howard, was that the
124 and change. 124 and change,
and it traded under 112 today, which I believe it hit literally within dollars of your spot that you had pointed out last week. And same with Ethereum, which almost hit $5,000 last week, traded down to 41 and change, which I think was really right at the spot you pointed out as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Both of those came back to fib level, as you would expect to sort of see on a pullback like this. We took off from 40.50 that's been our key resistance on Ethereum throughout 2024 and into 2025. And once we broke it, we went all the way to 48 and change, like you mentioned, almost up to 5. Really quickly. And what happens when we overextend like that? It's going to turn around, like it says here. Crypto rallied hard, really hard, really fast. It extended moves always cool off. And a healthy pullback isn't the end of a bull market, but it's actually it's where we breathe. We take a deep breath and we get ready, right? That is what we're doing.
It's almost like, and I've talked about this here several times, it's almost like when we have a short squeeze, not just in crypto, but in a stock itself, when you see these kind of violent, really quick moves, and they don't last. They don't last. They typically cool off and then either retrace back or just kind of trade range bound.
Yeah, and with crypto, it's an exact, and you just hit on it. What we look for, or what I was looking for, what allowed us to make that breakthrough on Ethereum really is it stalled out when it broke that 40.50 for a little bit, and then it made its next move, and then it stalled. It didn't. This was the first big pullback, as opposed to sort of just sideways consolidation. Yeah. And there's a lot of reasons why we had that. Without a doubt, it's there's definitely a risk-off mood when it comes to all equities and everything, right? We're seeing pullbacks across the market. Tweet analysis has become as important as technical analysis in the markets, which is crazy.
That's kind of what we were used to, like in the first quarter of this year. maybe even the first 4 or 5 months where the market was playing off of, constant information, constant tweets, as opposed to fundamentals.
And that's what we saw in crypto, right? Crypto really followed those text runs. So we had the big run when the president got elected. We got the big run up on his inauguration day, and then we pulled back like everybody else. After that, and it took till June or July to start rebuilding it. Aladdin, always love to see you, my friend. Hope all is well.
Stellar is a good word. I've heard you been described a few different words.
Yeah, stellar is a new one. I'm not gonna lie. I might add that to my notebook here. I mean, I need a screenshot of that.
The crypto stellar Hondo.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we have here, it's been risk off for retail and institutions. Retail is not buying the dip this week. And today we're seeing a little bit on crypto and still not really the stock market. And I think people are just waiting for Friday to see what happens. And the other part of it in crypto is the bears got their butts handed to them for a few months. And as you know, as a market maker, market makers don't like to get beaten down. It's not in their nature. And when they seize opportunity, when they see it, they're going to jump on it. They don't have any problem with that. And the bears have done a lot of good things here for themselves. There's been a lot of, bull traps set every morning almost for the last, 4 days. We didn't make a trade since Thursday last week in my room because we've been waiting. Today we went back in. It finally stopped being an actual bull trap, and we can see buyers stepping into the market.
Which this is not unlike how we trade and how Mike trades and how Charlie trades, guys. We're never going to force a trade, right? If there's activity, if there's reason to trade, great. We're all about it. But none of us here are ever going to trade just to trade, because we all know there is always another trade to make. And patience is so key. We've got to let the markets come to us.
And that was tough. I mean, again, I said the numbers that were the key number that we had to look for, a week ago, and trying to sit there and wait for that to hit it. Every day when there's a pump, I was ready. Let's go. It's here it is. But it really wasn't. You got to look for those fake outs versus the breakouts. And that's what we saw. And, and what it is retail mentality is buy the dip. And institutions know that. So institutions were pushing it up to key levels, and people weren't watching to see that those same liquidity zones were getting swept every time.
So let me ask you something. Speaking of institutions versus retail, what I have up here is Tom Lee's newest Bitmine immersion technologies, Ether, whatever it is.
Treasury, yep.
And so you can see this really take off right here. This is on the big Ether climb that we saw up to that almost 5,000 level right there. So we've got a nice pullback here from, and I'm not even talking about this stuff when it first came out here.
The craziness.
This is anybody looking at a chart here, just don't even think about that. Just don't even think about that.
I wish I could do that with a lot of my charts.
Right? So what do you see here, though? This thing traded almost 72 literally 1 week ago today. It's now down at 47, or traded a low of 47, but it's not been out here. This BMNR has not been out very long, fairly new to the marketplace. So how do you look at something like this? Do you just base it off of, okay, Ether's support is X, what you said, 4050, 4100, whatever it was, and then just try and match that up with something like this if someone wanted to trade this as a proxy?
Absolutely. And absolutely that is the case. That's what we talked about. As I signaled to you, hey, ETH's finally rebounding. You might want to watch MNR for a similar action, is because of that. For me, it also, technicals have filled the gap. Same thing, Circle filled the gap today. I know you jumped on that at a perfect time.
We did. A real nice gap.
Yeah. And, fill the gap and bounce back up. That's what you want to see, right? That's what I was talking to my group about. Because they were asking me about entries on Circle today. And that was what I was looking at was, it filled that gap almost to a T.
There's that gap right there, everybody, that Howard was talking about that we traded off of. That gap is from just over 2 months ago. So I know Charlie took a bite on that as well as we did. And, gap fills can be really, really powerful, both on the up and the downside.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's how I look at them. They do that. There's also a little bit of difference. You got to worry about earnings reports, which you don't have in crypto. So you got to keep that in mind. And for me, it's watching what do the other companies do in the space. So as I mentioned to you, I was also watching that SBET had already taken off too, which is, the other side of that, Joseph Lubin from Consensus, that's his group. And, once that did, I watched that also to see what was going on. And on the Bitcoin side, you absolutely have to watch the 930 open, which was never a thing to watch in the world of crypto. Because now IBIT moves the needle, so those.
I was just going to bring that chart up, populating right now. Same thing, is this a proxy for Bitcoin? Well,
absolutely.
This guy got down right to its 50-day moving average, 64.13. It traded a low of 63.74 today and bounced off of there. And especially in IBIT, if you look short term here, this is a 3-month chart. You've got your support there. Is that going to hold again here? I mean, this certainly can be used as a proxy, right?
Absolutely. I mean, IBIT for sure. And the liquidity there is, and what's the institutions you're using? Without a doubt, family offices, people that don't want to deal with the different tax ramifications of crypto are buying it through IBIT without a question. And that's what we also saw is we had seen all of the pullbacks, with liquidity flows. It was volume just dried up. You got to see volume to see positive price action, and any volume was coming in on the red candles. It wasn't coming in on the green. So,
and Aladdin, I'm glad that we're thinking alike here because yes, especially the big ones. The BMNR.
Be a little bit careful with the mining companies. So Iron, Hut, Mara. Because they're not true treasury companies, they also have to be profitable with their energy consumption and other things that fall in line. So I love Mara because they've got a big Bitcoin holdings as it is. They're the largest holders of the Bitcoin mining companies. But you got to watch those for other things that are involved there, because if they're heavily influenced in Texas, like Hut is, you've got to worry about when their energy grid gets overused, they have to shut off the machines. And we saw Mara had problems last quarter with that.
So Howard, what do you make of something like this? Bullish, right? This was all the rage last week. It's going to be Coinbase competitor. Is that?
No, it's Coinbase. Well, no. Okay, yes, Coinbase competitor. No, because they're a Bitcoin maxi company. That's what no one's realizing, is that they are very much, while they own CoinDesk now that they bought and some other little things, they really are Bitcoin maxis, and their exchange is based out of the UK, really small, compared to Coinbase. That's where the problem is. Everybody said this is the next Coinbase because it's the Coinbase of the UK. UK's crypto investment is nil compared to the United States and Coinbase and everything there. Their volume.
So at least at this point, we may not see as much of a correlation to the crypto market as
because they're a media company. Like I said, they own CoinDesk. As you know, I'm on CoinDesk a lot on their TV stuff. They own that. They own a lot of periphery businesses in the crypto space.
Got it. But there are options listed on there. There are only monthly options at this time, no weeklies. I would expect weeklies to be out pretty quick. And for a stock that was I'm looking at the volume here, for a stock that was just listed, the option markets are pretty tight, and there's decent liquidity. So
I'd have to say there, though, you'd look at the other IPOs and how Circle pulled back and all those others. Usually that volume you see is the institutions getting on the other side of you with those options. So I love Scott's slide here with my healthy eating habits that I don't have. What we've seen over the last 5 days is healthy market mechanics. Profit taking. We've been talking about it in the rooms. We took profit. I told people I was getting out of some of the alts. They had gone up too fast, too quickly, and was circling back into Bitcoin, which pulled back a lot less than the alts did, right? You got to look for those cyclical changes. The consolidation, our stronger base for growth is there. And then the other part is, I don't want the weekends. Get out of here. Capitulate. And that happened. We got it to the point where yesterday, in my opinion, we saw that capitulation. It was the people that woke up this morning and sold at 6 a.m. Right before we started taking back off. That was, I think that it hit the levels, it scared them, and we saw those weekends shake out. And what we also can see in crypto is who's buying, and who is buying right now. It's the long-term holders.
The hodlers. So what do you mean by, Howard, I just brought this up here. What do you mean by weak hands? Just people that...
Sure. Weak hands are the FOMO buyers. They're the folks that buy at the top and sell at the bottom. Exactly what we never want to be. The FOMO buyer with weak hands, we like to say we have diamond hands, especially in the world of crypto. I've lived through it all. I got to say, my crypto room amazed me the last couple of days. No one's been coming in and panicking. What's going on? Everyone's like, hey, do you think today's the day the dip ends?
Well, that's because that's a testament to you. They've got someone.
Well, it's also, I was gone for 2 years for some of them. And they
got
still
a mentor and a coach that, they can trust and really follow along.
And that's what it is that's the difference is who's buying these dips. It's, I'll point to Stephen Orr being the guy that always says this. I want to be the ticket taker. As they're capitulating this morning, I was the guy saying, thank you, I'll buy that at 40.50.
Yeah, it is like the contrarian indicator, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's fishing on one side of the market. Sometimes you got to throw a fishing rod on the other side. And that's what, you got to do is be willing, the conviction is, it hit a key fib level, it hit key spots, and those spots were set up, from the history of what Bitcoin and Ethereum have done over the last few months. And these pullbacks, I was telling my folks, be patient, wait for them. They give you the opportunities. Don't try to buy at the tops. There always is a pullback. Believe me, I was getting FOMO when Ethereum was moving from, 43 to 48, and I wasn't in that trade. But I wasn't going to chase it at 48 because I knew that pullback that would come.
So I know weak hands, diamond hands, those are relatively new terms, but back in the day trading on the floor, when we knew that those orders were coming in from people that wanted to capitulate or just get out, we would call them lemmings. and us as market makers, we would wait for the lemmings to come in because, boy, our eyes would light up.
You sharks would eat them right up. No, and that really that's the market psychology, that I've learned over the years from all of you guys, from, all the experience has been, that is the case. And then, like I said, historical perspective, 2017, 2020, 2021, we saw multiple 20 to 40% pullbacks. This is nowhere near those stages. And now those kind of pullbacks would be unhealthy because we have a sophisticated institutional investor that's there as a market maker that should be catching those things. And when things hit key levels that are buying it and stuff. So, but these corrections test conviction every cycle. And I saw it. I knew it this morning when I woke up. I woke up at like 5 a.m. The first thing I always do is look at my Coinbase account. And I went, oh, man, the capitulators they're getting them today. They got them. Because you woke up, you had some positivity when you went to bed and you said, okay, it's at 42. As long as it stays above 41, I'm going to be good. And you woke up and it was at 40.50 and you were like, oh, God, it's going to 38. And they all capitulated. And then you saw it got quickly bought up for the first time here. And now we finally are challenging some resistance to the upside.
Well, thankfully, it didn't go to 38 either. Howard is talking about, but
yes, 38.
Listen, corrections are always going to happen. Again, whether it's crypto, whether it's the equity markets, we're always going to see corrections. But corrections don't necessarily mean like you see here in crypto. Crypto corrections can be pretty fierce, 20, 30, 40%, right? We don't typically see those types of corrections in the overall market. Maybe you get it in individual stocks, like what's going on with Palantir right now. Palantir is 20% off its all-time high in just a few days here. But corrections are always part of market cycles, and they're healthy. Without them, the markets I think would be unsustainable.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happened to crypto in 2017. That was the case. This isn't the case for that.
Before we go any further, we're back to Ralph Cramden today, guys. I know yesterday we had Bill Murray, and that was just for Charlie. But let's get that out here today. Ralph says pullback is the word of the day, and I usually try and keep these words shorter so you guys don't have to type something longer in, but couldn't really think of anything good for today. So we've got pullback today. All right, leave that up here for another minute or so, and then I know Howard wants to show you a couple charts, which we'll go to in just a moment. Okay, here we go. Here's the first one.
So right here we have the total market cap of all crypto. And what you can see is that we're still firmly above the prior swing low. We're still holding the 50-day simple moving average, and we're still well within the linear regression bands. So again, all of those things lead us to believe that we are still in an uptrend, right? Nothing's broken structure.
Look at the higher highs and higher lows here, especially from this point right here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, again, and it's maintaining its channel, completely through it. So nothing's broken it. That's why I wasn't panicking. That's why the crypto crew's not panicking. This is a healthy pullback. It's a good stage. And what most people came in my room to say is, is today the day just to buy? They want to add to their long-term accumulations. And that's who's buying it. It's people that have conviction. And it's also what we're seeing. It's the whales are buying back in right now.
And the whales are the long-term holders,
the long-term holders and the larger holders.
So this chart, I think, shows total amount of value that is staked or being used in DeFi, which you talked about DeFi last week quite a bit.
Yeah, so this is another one that I wanted to talk to, because the first signs of cracks that I would be looking for if this was not just a pullback and we were going to have a lot of trouble is people would be running for the out of staking. And especially since most of this staking is really being done by institutions. So the BMNRs that you mentioned, the SBETs that you just mentioned, the IBITs, those guys, they're not just holding those coins, they're putting them to use because they want to get yield on them, right? That's how they make their profits.
So that's what I was just going to say. If you start to see a major pullback in staking, does that mean people are really concerned about the crypto market and they just want to help?
You can see the downtrend that really started since the Sam Bankman-Fried took it all away from us. And from him, it just kept on going down and down because nobody had long-term conviction. And it took till, literally April of this year to really start to see a recovery. This has been in a long downtrend, and now it's turned. And what we're seeing again is that people's conviction is still there. They are keeping their tokens on there. The people that matter, those weak hands, they come and go. The next group of FOMO will come in. But for right now, these are the folks that matter, and they're showing you with their conviction that they're still in the game. I mean, again, this didn't even come close to the pullback level. It did, the breakout levels, what it didn't even pull back to.
Well, how is SBF these days? What do you think he's doing?
He's still, it amazes me that he hasn't got a pardon. So that has absolutely amazed me to this day. So we'll see what's happening. The one I'll say to look for a quiet pardon for is CZ. Now he's already out of jail, but he is partnered. Binance is partnering with World Liberty Financial. I've noticed.
Yeah, it's almost like nothing happened for him.
Yeah. Well, he's no longer the CEO, so somebody else runs the company. Yeah, right.
Maybe there's a shadow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, his sister or something. I believe it's his sister.
Exactly. So, what's next? Not just today, right? I mean, it's so hard to predict crypto minute by minute, day by day, but what the trends, it seems like what you're saying from those last couple of charts still say that the upward trajectory, the momentum is still intact.
Absolutely. These are the things that I'll be watching, that you should be watching, to tell when we are really ready to make that next move up. Are we done, with the drop? Are we going to consolidate or move? Look for those institutional flows, the ETFs. They announce them instantly every day. You can see it in their price in the morning, the volume, the candles. Are they red? Are they green? Because that's institutions moving. So look at those ETFs. They matter a lot. And then for us, we look at on-chain metrics. Coinglass.com is a great spot to do that. What's going on from those measures? Are short-term holders in profit, or are they not in profit? That gives us our fear and greed ratios and some of these other things. And then you can't look at crypto without looking at the macro environment right now. Without a doubt, you have to be looking at what's going on with rates, with the dollar, the strength of the dollar. If the dollar gets too strong, it's not good for crypto. It makes it too, it's a lot easier just to hold your money in a money market than to get into a volatile market like crypto.
Well, that's why everybody in crypto, just the same as the other markets, are, really, I would say, concerned at this point about what Powell's going to say on Friday.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Friday, we're all waiting for Friday. Yes, SBF was corrupt, without a doubt, Kevin. He was a thief. Not even corrupt. He was a thief. That easy.
Yes, he was.
Dave, I see your question there. I would look into the new Perpetual Future. If that's what you're looking to do, I would look into the Perpetual Futures offered now. Ninja Trader, I believe, has them. Coinbase Derivatives definitely has them, and Kraken Derivatives definitely have them, because you don't have to roll over. You don't have to worry about rolling them over. They don't expire. They use a funding rate as a component as opposed to contango. So it is that I would look at that as a better way to do that. Or it's sometimes better to look, if that's what you're looking to do, is look maybe at the ETFs that track Bitcoin there. And if you're trying to use futures, so you're trying to get a leverage position, look at like the 3X that T-Rex offers. They're pretty good. They have a lot of liquidity on those. BTCL, I think it is a good one there. But those, I haven't looked at them the last few days, but they've always had really good liquidity. And those give you an amplified leverage on Bitcoin, and then Ether, they have them for that too.
So in summary here.
Oh, yeah. For my summary, the bull market is not over. It's just catching its breath. Keep that powder dry on the sidelines, ready to reinvest here. Pullbacks are not your enemy. They're the foundation for a next leg higher.
And there you have it, folks. Stair step, right? Nothing goes up in a straight line.
Walk up. The escalator's no good for anybody, and the elevator hurts.
That's right. Things will drop a lot quicker than they rise up. That is something that we all learn the hard way. There's no question about that. All right, guys, the wheel is closed. So we've got it right here. Boy, everybody likes Howard. Look at how full the wheel is today. when you're on, man, oh man, we get this thing to the point where I almost can't read the names on here. But let's give it a whirl for Howard here, folks.
Come on. Winner. Chicken dinner.
Ruben, SnowX, Sarunas.
Nice.
You in the house.
I love it, Steven. I will. And you asked about XRP. It looks good. It got to get above 310 is the key line there. It did fall below its key takeoff area. It took off when it broke 310, moved to 360. That's the key area there.
Come on, Sarunas. Howard is a star. Wow.
Thank you, Paul.
They're really coming out today for you, man.
Yeah, I paid a few people. There he is, Sarunas. I love it. Congratulations.
Awesome. Sarunas, you know the drill here, I think. Prosper, shoot me an email, prosperswag@prospertrading.com. Folks, just so you are all aware, okay, those of you that have won swag recently, I'm a little backed up. It's still coming to you. I do these by myself. So I'm a little backed up. I'm traveling the next couple days. So I appreciate your patience. We haven't forgotten you. Definitely going to get your swag out. And thank you. And Howard, another great informational 30 minutes or so. And you guys all know where to find the man, the myth, the legend, crypto.
Bill K, keeping the powder. You got to keep the powder dry on the sidelines, buddy. Got to have.
Always have to have powder.
XRP's got to break 310. It's got to break 310, Steven. That's the key level right now. If it breaks 310, look for a move back up to that 360.
Giddy up, everybody. Howard, thank you very much. And we will see all of you. I won't see you tomorrow. I will not, but Mike Patton will be here tomorrow. So we will send some info out on that. And everybody have a great night. See you later.